Shiva Gurja, Taman Shola Fishy Nua. I wanted to just show the app as it is live on the website, web app, and talk very generally about everything, I suppose. Kind of give some behind the scenes content, or so you know why stuff is happening the way it happens. This is the new dashboard. It's a kind of dedicated desktop screen, and I don't have an iPad, but I would imagine it probably looks better on iPads too. So we did a big release a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I think, and it was a complete rewrite of the database, which was a lot because it was like 1,200 sentences, and then like from them you have like what 5 to 10 words in each, and each does have to be put in, and then I think there was like 300 lessons, so it was a lot of typing, a lot of late night typing. So yeah, um, new members in the team, Bunny and Dara. Bunny very kindly redid all of our assets, so the art stuff. Originally, I generated these with Google AI in May when I was first building out the app. Because I'm not an artist, I don't know how to make them, so I did it as placeholders. So I was really happy to remove all of the AI from the app. Um, yeah, so I think it's looking quite nice. You have your like Irish English time, and then you have your Seannach of the day, and then you have some videos to kind of take a look at. These get updated every few weeks, every few days. Um, let me just go through what was done. So the really big one was 2.0, and this is beta 2.0. It's not like proper 2.0, but and this was kind of like to acknowledge the fact that the whole underlying structure of the app has changed, to make it far more like easy to work with and stuff. Because the old one was just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was like thousands of lines of stuff to try and generate all the content, whereas this one it was just far cleaner. And then with that came a lot of new features and stuff. So Dara and Bunny joined the team, and so then yeah, we pushed it out, and when we pushed it out, I think there was about 500 people on the app each day. We were fast approaching 10K users in a month, unique users. And I personally I thought, oh, there's so much things fixed. We have so much new features. Surely when I push it out, it will go even higher. But actually, it went right down, and that was for a lot of good reasons. One was like we totally changed the interface and broke people's habits and stuff. There's a really nasty bug where the progress was tracked by like this one like word ID um that was buried, like it was like generated like unique ID and stuff like this um in the code, and this got changed uh, when we regenerated all the data and stuff. So what happened then was that the progress was lost for everybody, um but not for me because I was developing on my own account, right? So I didn't even notice. So anyway, I fixed that. I think just probably still some lingering issues, but the fix was pretty brutal. I had to like uh, find out what it was, replicate it, and then write a script and test it loads of times, and then run it on the production database, which was for thousands of people. Um, so that was pretty unnerving. I wrote the scripts in Python too, which is not my first language at all. Um, but yeah, that's fixed now, and that will never happen again. Like when we first started doing rewrite, we had a few hundred users. Now we've got thousands. So like the app just won't be rewritten to that level again, and I won't need to either. So, and the other thing too is this is a beta and testing, but it's coming up now to like proper release. So we started setting up proper internal testing and stuff before we push anything out. And any new changes to the interface, we'll just present an old and a new screen so people can go back to what they're used to. Yeah, so all progress. We are building up behind the scenes tests and automation tests and like review processes and all that kind of stuff, which is it's definitely interesting for what is essentially something we all work on the weekends. Um, and kind of exciting in the sense that like you wouldn't think it was possible to do it for an app such as this. But like if you just look at the progress in 6 months, it is kind of remarkable. Um, I don't have it here. I could, but I will probably show later on the very first prototype from May, which is written in Haskell, and I still have it actually. So I actually might make that code like open source so people can take a look at it. I don't know if it's much use to anybody. It is uh, pretty esoteric, but we use Flutter now because it gives us the web app, mobile apps, all in one code base. Otherwise, we'd need to like write iOS and then Android and then web, and doing something three times is not uh, a pleasant prospect. So yeah, pushed it out. The numbers dropped by 20%, and I was like, oh shit. So lots of bugs, lots and lots of bugs, and bugs were building up too while we were doing this because the one before this was do we have the date? Oh, I should add in the dates to these so people can see the progress. The one after this, you can see all of the bug fixes and stuff, like massive fixes, content and stuff. So, and these don't even capture everything because, but like it might be that it was 2, 3 weekends of stuff, fixes, and then from myself and Michael. So by the time I'm ready to do a release, I come in here after I write these reports. I'm like trying to remember what was worked on. So yeah. Um, yeah, so a lot done. One of the biggest new features is, well, I'll just go through the experience. So, these courses, nearly 1,000 people waiting for this. We have a lot of courses being written by people, and it's volunteer. And the idea is that these people are not coders, so they're writing from as the proper artists. So, and volunteer, they can write what they want. But these other courses, I will make them up. The daily conversations, the 100 most common words and stuff. For the daily conversations, I've done a bit of work, and I've been thinking like trying to think up of modern contexts you might use the Irish language. So, talking to a friend, maybe, you know, night out, maybe in a pub or something, maybe going to like a rally for the Irish language or something like this, maybe going to an Irish coffee shop. Um, because like a traditional conversations course might be like, oh, give me directions. But I don't think that would happen in Ireland. I think most strangers in Ireland just speak English to each other. Unless you're wearing like a fáinne, the ring to identify yourself as a Irish language speaker. So trying to think of ways that you would actually use it. And in ways that are universal that everybody could relate to. So getting 10 kind of sentences and trying to make it interesting and fun too. And maybe you're at like a game or a concert or something. Maybe you're writing an angry email to your local TD. That'd be kind of funny. Um, Maybe you are having an argument with somebody in Osceola. That would be kind of fun, I think. Um, and then maybe one that'd be kind of cool would be like telling a funny story or telling a story Osceola. So yeah, I'm trying to think of um like the shop one's kind of is a nice one too, right? Ordering stuff. So think of like 10 interesting scenarios and then for each three different sentences. And I was thinking maybe it could be the same thing but like at different levels. So maybe the first one is like A1, A2 Irish, and then maybe the next one is like A2, B1, kind of more intermediate Irish, and then maybe the last one's like proper like Lefa, like you know, like a what do you call it, B2, C1 type of stuff. Although it's very difficult, I think, to do any C1, C2 stuff on a language app. Um, A1, A2, B1, B2 being the European standard of languages of like fluency in a language. So yeah, this will be done, but I think you kind of need to polish everything else up and fix it, and then this week, and for example, I'm doing the bug fixes, and I have a few ideas which I'll show on the screen when I go in. So this is new, new interface. Before it was just boring icons, and you'd scroll across, and people are getting bored and stuff. So going with this woodland theme, like Sionnach Irish, it's a fox. I really like the trees. I like specifically the oak tree because I think its story resonates so well with the Irish language and the revival and how it was nearly, wiped out off the island. Uh, and it's still going strong. And we want it to come back. And you can go a bit deeper in saying how like both governments on the island have failed to properly look after their heritage and stuff. Um, not naming names culture, but you can look into it. A lot more efforts recently, but with the oak tree especially, like it really should be more right in my opinion. And as a little anecdote, in the beginning, I thought it would be cool if every time you finish a tree, you could go like give some money towards like planting an oak tree somewhere. I looked into it, and the place I found was doing it for 2 grand an oak tree. So it's just like crazy. And I just think it's funny because it's like with that stuff, someone plants a tree, you pay money to plant a tree. It's like, did they just plant it and then you take their word for it? Like, how do you guarantee that's protected for like all of time? Like, do they buy the land? Is that the way it's done? And even still, it's like, if anybody knows about the commons in the UK or Ireland, yeah, some common land or something that's protected, like, yeah, it's pretty sad when you think about it. People just come trying to take it out. So anyway, I think the oak tree greatly mirrors the story of the Irish language, very much like the olive tree symbolizes Arab struggle, right? Like just it's a really strong metaphor. Um, so that was the idea behind the team. Flutter is a framework from Google using a language called Dart, and it's really good because it gives you all of the apps in one space. But it is designed very much for corporate apps and for like doing one thing. And if you stray from that, you're going to be in pain. And this is a perfect example. This thing behind it is a canvas, and I wrote some code to randomly generate a forest, going for the whole Pokemon vibe. Like this isn't an image; these are generated in code. Uh, God, God love me, but this took so long to get right, and the little path behind it going well. Oh my God, did it take so much time? And I guess it's my unfamiliarity with it, but yeah, doing anything with graphics in Flutter is painful. Maybe I just need to practice with it more. Maybe I could make a little engine out of it, and we could do something cool, and have little foxes running around and stuff. Actually, that gives me a bit of an idea. Let's see if I can do that this weekend. Maybe I'm just lining myself up for more pain, but let's see. Um, and says you like, I should be focusing on the important stuff. Like if this is animated, it's not going to help people learn, but I need to satisfy my own curiosity too, right? Scratch that itch. So yeah, this is a new interface. The other big change is before in the original app it was like really basic. You would plant your tree and it was very much focused on drills, drill, drill, drill. And if you've ever studied anything like mathematics or physics or anything with a textbook, and at the end it would have the questions and stuff. You're kind of going for that approach, or like even with languages, just doing it again and again and again until the patterns hit. The app has changed from that, and we've moved away from that because of feedback and people's expectations, and because it can be done better. So now it's linear paths. So we try to put the repetition into the lessons themselves, and you do 12 sentences and then you're finished and you can move on. Before it was in the original one, 12 sentences, do them 10 times, and people rebelled against that, rightly so. And then for this one, it was 12 sentences and you do them 3 times. And then people are like, wait, I did all 12 sentences. Why do I only have 33%? I'm like, oh, you have to do it 3 times. I'm like, why? And it's funny because in the regular verbs in the summer, we put in stuff like, you do it once and you do like 4 sentences, and then you do 4 sentences 3 times, and then you unlock the next 4 sentences, and then you do them. I don't think anybody realized that. I think it was just so confusing that, you know, people just expected to be straight through. And then the other thing was before you had to finish all 12 or nothing. So if you had 5 minutes at the bus stop, you did it. It was pointless. Well, it wasn't pointless. You were learning, but I think people really like the idea of progression and stuff. So changed all of that. So originally, changed it to you if you left early, you could save it, um, and then it would save and you come back. And then in the most recent bug fixes, people are pointing out like if I just back here or anything else happens, I'll lose the progress. So can you just auto save it? So now it auto saves. Um, so if I oh, should probably
چیه؟
read the prompt.
خواست دیگه خواست
Yeah. So then if I say come back later, get your exit screen. Okay. Yeah. So you get your little tree and it grows. This animation I could fix it up when I get a chance because it needs to show you it growing because the idea of the images they're layered so you can see them growing. Thank Bunny again for redrawing these from the AI original ones, which were not pretty. This is really good. So then let's go Irish. Now, yeah, so then you go keep going through and you can do 12 and then when you get 12 done, it's that it's done. But people then emailed me and they're like, "Hey, what the hell? I'm just flying through, but I'm not remembering anything." Um, and which they're right. I'm like, "Well, you can do it twice, 3 times, as many times as you want." But they're like, "I can't really see it." So that's what these icons are. These are for like repetition. Keep doing them. And when I get time in the future, I'm going to change this again. I'm kind of thinking like stars or something around the edge, like maybe 5 or 6 stars, so you can kind of like keep going and your UI look more pretty as you unlock more. Um, because if you did it 5 times, you should remember most of it. Also, people are kind of complaining that like they feel like they should be lessons before because they go in and they're like, well, I don't know this. Like I should know this. I should be taught it before I'm asked it. And I will talk a bit later on why we do it this way, but it's not difficult for us to kind of just put something in to help. And I'm thinking a stack of books icon here, and it is called Learn, and you go into it, and it just shows you the answer and asks you to type it out, and it disables the XP and stuff, but it does everything else. So you can go in stress free and get it done. And I was also thinking that over here we can put something called screw do, like a little kind of challenge mode, and maybe have it like either like an empty star or like maybe like 5 stars. And I was thinking that this could be fun. We could put in like I was thinking maybe like a time challenge or something. Then like that's kind of awkward. How do we score that? But I'm thinking maybe like for each sentence we give like 3 or 5 lives, right? Like hearts for each sentence, and then you go through it trying to make as little mistakes as possible, and then it also like tracks your like words per minute. The idea being the higher your words per minute, like the more fluent maybe you are with it, and the less mistakes you make. And I was thinking then like I could just calculate the maximum number of mistakes you can make and still make it to the end. Whereas if you don't make too many mistakes, you're just thrown back. Um, and if you get to the end, then we would have like, all right, maximum amount of mistakes you can make to get to the end, and then minimum amount of mistakes, and then we could break that up like bronze, silver, gold, based on the number of mistakes. And then the idea being like this could be just something that rather than doing this, you could just come back and like do the challenges for fun. Um, and people are quite resistant to that type of thing, but I think it can be quite good. Like having a little challenge that you can fail. I was recently using a game called Vim Adventures, which is for learning shortcuts on a text editor type of thing. And I had these challenges, and a lot of the challenges and puzzles would like have a challenge mode, and if you failed it, you're back to the start. So you end up just doing it again and again. And I was just struck by how this really reinforced the patterns. So I'm kind of thinking it could work here. So the idea would be like no stress, learn, practice over here, kind of like make your progress down here, and then if you want, go challenge yourself on the challenge mode. And then I was thinking too, it could be cool to have like a leaderboard in each of them to see who was the fastest and stuff. But I guess that might annoy some people. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool because rather than getting like Duolingo where you just automatically progress if you get the hearts, it'd be kind of cool to like go back and you open up a lesson. And the idea of the exam would be there'd be no hints, um, maybe no audio or maybe only audio or something, just bare bones and no XP either, right? By the way, just or maybe separate XP. Maybe like we have XP and then we have like screw to XP from these challenges. Because otherwise, if we took XP from the challenges and you're just constantly doing them, which is what we want, it's just gonna take up all of the XP, right? Um, so yeah, so maybe you come into it and then you start typing and then you just zero it in. So if you open it up and you're straight away you're like, and then next one, chances are you have it down. Like you probably have fluency in it, right? Just, and if not, if you come on to the first one and you're just like, ah, going slow, and you barely make it to the end, and then you come back the next day and you do it again, and then faster. I think that's a really good way of like really getting the patterns and getting them home. And then if you go and you talk to somebody or you're like writing something or doing something Irish, that pattern should just be there. Like it should be like rock solid. You shouldn't even have to think about it, you know? You should be able to just and then, if you're like texting somebody, or you're writing something out, you should have just like the stock of sentences, like phrases that you can just and around that build your language, right? So I don't know. I think about I think if I did that too, I would need to kind of provide old and new interfaces so people don't get too annoyed. Um, yeah, so yeah, I do. I'm not going to apologize, but I know I'm talking a lot and saying a lot, but maybe hopefully you can kind of see how much thought goes into this. And it is a lot of fun. I'm not going to lie. So the idea is you come down this way, and then you progress this way, and then you finish um, this. This happens if you open if this is finished and you click in it and then you don't do anything, you get these icons back. And then you can then center. But I put the oh, is that yeah, that's fine because it's not done yet. So you need to finish this one to unlock these two or these three. And the listening and speaking are to the side because they're optional. Um, I would say you should definitely do them, like really, because the idea here is you have Lou's thoughts, and he's thinking from his perspective, from the man's perspective, and then Scotia is thinking. So it's a bit of sentences generally like line up, but there's variation to try and show you different variation from a woman's perspective. And then here they chat together with the same type of stuff. So you have like one perspective a second, and then talking together. Uh, so these listening and speaking are based on the conversation, and the idea is that by the time you get to listening and the speaking, you have the vocabulary, you have the words built up. And practicing. The reason they are optional is because some people don't have the ability to listen. It's just for whatever reason, and some people don't have the ability to speak. So um, that is that is why. And what else? Yeah. So then we come down here, do that. I'm trying. I'm just thinking because like we have Lou's and we have Scotia's. It would be kind of cool to have the different characters have different dialects. Maybe in the future course we would give them different dialects. But maybe a better option would be to have for each sentence pair we provide different dialects. So you can like if you pick Ulster, all of your text is Ulster. Um, yeah, definitely. Need to find some Ulster dialect experts and Munster, I suppose, to kind of do that. But that could be kind of cool. So yeah, that's it. Lots of ideas for this, and I think this probably become the uniform kind of course path. This at the moment is all hard coded Dart code. I do want to get away from that until like something that can just be done in JSON where it's just text, so that eventually somebody can come along and just use an interface or a web interface which I build, and they can just type out what they want rather than coding. And the same for the course content. So what that would mean is they would probably log in somewhere and they would see the course content, and then they would like have like forms and like drop downs, and they would have like like submissions and revisions and stuff to create this stuff, so they could, without needing to code, they could create the courses. Sinead, so I'm trying to think what else to talk about here. No, not missing anything. So let's jump into a lesson then. Yeah, conversation is perfect. So another thing I added is in some conversations there are more than one speaker. There could be three speakers, and because at the moment we're using like public data and stuff, we don't have that many voices. Um, so each side, like, we have one gender. Hopefully we can fix this in the future. Hopefully we could get people to record audio. That would be cool. Just no way can we afford that at the moment. So you have the same uh gender person's voice for everything. So like differentiating who it is difficult. So suck in like this little tag for the speaker and a little icon, the Mars and Venus icon for Lou and Scotia. Later on, we can put on some dedicated artwork. Dara has to be doing some really cool stuff with his like insular Christian old medieval art style, which is really good mixed with his talent. It's really nice. Especially he's doing a lot of stuff around Lou and Scotia, so that could be kind of cool. Like you'd see maybe an image, you know, of the person speaking. Um, yeah, so you see the icon here. Um, and then below also I have updated this so you can just jump between words, and this was much requested. Personally, I just type from start to finish, and the reason is the whole point of this app in the beginning and still is to try and get people away from passively reading, passively learning, and trying to get you to like manually do stuff. Um, to slow yourself down and focus on each of the letters. I think most people they read in chunks, in sentences, or even maybe even paragraph, no, in sentences, right? And full words. Whereas with language learning, you really benefit from breaking it down into the letters. And the reason being, it forces you to look at the patterns. And then when you're typing it out here, if you have the wrong pattern or you don't know it properly, but you glance at it and you recognize it, the app should, by typing it out, you will see your mistake and you should be able to correct it. The idea here is if you just Google Translate this, or if you just looked it up in a book, or if you just read a book, you see it and you forget it. But the idea here is let's challenge your brain first. Do this, and you have to stretch. So if you're in a social situation and you want to say something to somebody, imagine you're like literally sitting down at a table and you want to go up and order a coffee or something. And you're sitting there planning the conversation um, in your head. You want to think about how to do it. Um, and you try to do it, and the information isn't there. So you go and you Google Translate it, and then you get the phrase, and you go up and try your best to say it, and whatever. You're probably going to forget that instantly, like straight after it, and not remember it. But if you sat there and you maybe thought up, how do I say that, and then you try to build it up using maybe the rules you did know about the grammar, or like kind of trying to figure it out, or even Google the individual words and then put them together yourself, and then the grammar rules, you're going to remember it much better. Um, and then the other side is if you're in school and you're like presented with all the information and then you're tested on it. So you're like telling your brain, remember all of this, and then you get tested. Your brain is so efficient. Like it's really good at saving energy and stuff. So if it doesn't deem information relevant, it's just going to throw it out. So here we try to create the need in your brain first. It's like we need this, brain, we need this. Um, and then we go find the information. So your brain is more likely to remember it more efficiently and stuff. And this is, if you're studying mathematics or coding or something like this, start with the question, especially something like uh, coding problems and stuff. Start with the question, go find the information, solve it, and that journey of complete confusion, putting in lots of time figuring it out, and then eventually getting to speak dopamine hit because you solved it. You're gonna remember, as opposed to just being shown the answer. Um, so that's why here. That's why we do it this way. It's like, here, do you know what it is? Okay, now, and then with the app, everything is presented here to figure it out. You shouldn't need to go to anything else to find it. And this is to try and like get your mind into the habit of like, oh, how do you say that? And rather than being like, I don't know, and giving up, being like, well, maybe I can figure it out. Maybe I can try and construct a sentence first. Like, oh, it should start with a verb. And what verb should I use? And then it should probably be like, I don't know, a noun or preposition or something. I don't mean specifically like doing it this way, but I mean it could be like, say you wanted to say, I have an apple. You might be like, well, I don't know. I know like the pattern is verb, noun, preposition. And then I'm like, oh well, to say I have something is like, if I'm saying it's at me, I'd say a gum. The preposition a gum, which means at me, at the end. And if I was saying it, I'd probably say ta, and then the word for apple so it's ta something gum, and the word for apple is ul, so ta ul a gum. Um, this is like kind of building up these rules so you can figure it out without looking it up, and then you'll remember them. If you're going to go up and order a coffee and you sit down and you figure out what to say, and you go up and say it, and the person greets you with understanding and does it, and there's no issue, you're like, great, you remember it. Next time you're in a conversation and the same pattern comes up, you say it with confidence. You're not questioning yourself. Um, if you go up and say it and the person looks like at you like you have two heads, maybe your pronunciation was wrong or maybe it's completely wrong, and then you need to go back and look into why, right? Um, this is actually like for Spanish here. A lot of times I'll do. I like preparing my conversations before I go, which is something I do actually even in English. I'll be honest with you, just preparing conversations and stuff, which something to do with neurodivergence or something. But when I first came, I would like every statement was a question because I wasn't sure if it was correct. I'd be like, "Effectivo," like I didn't know if it was the correct word, and I'd be saying it as a question. Whereas they're like, "Why is that? Why are you asking me that?" So, yeah. Um, Shane, what's next? Yeah. So actually, this weekend I want to make this toggleable, so you can like close it and close it because in the last update, I actually put in where if you type, it shows up both here and here. So really, you probably don't need both of these. And I was thinking maybe just removing this one up here altogether, and moving these two arrows here and here will be better. Um, I'm not sure because like there is like this doesn't show up here, and you will be surprised at how complex this is. Silly as it looks, is like even see the way the box shakes. I had to go and code that. So yeah. Um, but if you could close it, it'd be great because the the vertical space, the space going down here. Oh, I'm just thinking, should this be up here? Should this loo be between these two? Would that save more space? No, because it wouldn't fit in there. Yeah, okay. And then you can see more insights in how stuff like that is done. Um, the information going this way in rows is like the most precious because when the keyboard is open, it hides stuff, and at the moment, it's hiding the buttons here. So new users are coming in and they're like, "What? What am I supposed to do here?" Actually, no, they're seeing this. They're seeing this. They're like, "What am I supposed to do here?" So I'm thinking of like making you can't close this because you need the prompt. So maybe making this one closed by default, and then you can just see this one down here. And when we put out the first week, I haven't checked it since, but the first week only 16% of people actually like clicked on these. Um, which probably means it was just desktop users who clicked on it. Um, so yeah, Bunny did a really good post on TikTok where she actually put arrows. It was it's like thank you, Bunny. So this has been changed. The audio stuff was really big before. It's just been one line now, and I think people are complaining that it's just sentences of words. But this toggles, which probably isn't obvious.
Tá dleatha go bháin am. Tá.
You can
Tá.
hear the robotic noise in it. The audio is text to speech models, which are they're not AI in the sense they're not like DeepSeek or any of that stuff. It's like or ChatGPT or any of that stuff. It's like before that. It's like large models trained on audio. So you put in like words and it generates the audio. Um, it would be nice not to use that. It would be really nice, but it's just getting audio and supporting three dialects and like it's free. We don't have any budget, but long term, our plan is to like put some money behind it and try and get proper audio. Um, yeah, it's just for the future, hopefully. So so we got the stuff from online. And then there's some of the audio that you might hear when you type out the words is from speakers, from native speakers and stuff. So, but it's not consistent, unfortunately, and it is the biggest pain of this, and this is the biggest pain for any what you call it, minority language. Um, it is unfortunate. I kind of like you would wish it was more available, more you could do, or maybe even some grants or something you could get. But it's just at the moment, unless someone comes forward to donate their audio, their voice, it's not much we can do, and nobody has come forward. I guess it'd be weird to hear your voice on an app, though we could disguise it, I suppose. Um, but yeah, it's an open issue.
Tá. Tá.
We've been working on some new models, like where we basically like took freely available audio from like the last 100 years and stuff, and we ourselves ran them on like to train up, models to use speech and stuff. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to do on a voluntary basis, and it's tough to be honest with you. But it's tough too because the audio is so crucial to learning the language, specifically Irish. Like the dialects live in the audio, so you can probably hear from my tone. It's a very frustrating issue. So yeah, this is
Tá.
like this, and like really the issue is I pulled out the old tutorial system because it was buggy, it causing people issues, and when you first logged in, it was just taking over your screen, which was really annoying. This weekend, I hope to put in like question marks everywhere to kind of give like help, like up here, question marks, um, and you click on it and it explains stuff, like how these features work and stuff. I'm not sure how exactly to do it, text based, I guess, and then maybe I'll put like I don't know, a hat or something that will like try to explain like the approach and how you should use it and the ideas behind it. Maybe that might be like on a separate page or something. I don't know. Um, and then a video, I suppose, of someone who can speak clearer than I can speak, explaining everything might help. But yeah, this is the biggest issue right now. This is the focus: is how do you explain to people how this works? Um, because I don't know how long this video is in. I'm guessing it's a long time, and I haven't even explained half of the stuff. 30, 29 minutes. It's like how do you communicate this, how it works and stuff. And I think that is the biggest issue because people don't get it. I don't think. And like, why would they? Like, they click into it and they just see this and they're like, what the fuck? so, so, yeah, that's something else to work on. Little by little, I will get there. And for that, a lot of people are getting it and figuring it out, and by all accounts, a lot of people are learning a lot from it, which is really, really nice to hear. Um, so the idea is come in, you're typing it out, and maybe you know it, maybe you don't. And then we have the different views. Some people like uh, this view. This view is misleading because it's actually not the default. It shows you mutations. So if there's like an initial like a H or like a Oru, like a prefix letter or something, it will show up down here. So you start spotting the patterns, and you can actually work backwards to find out like why is there an initial here, which is kind of cool. And this one, and then this one is to kind of like break it into its parts. And this really is just trying to get people speak English maybe as their only language, maybe a Latin language in English. Um, get them to realize that in Irish it's a different word order, right? It's structured differently, and all of these views are kind of designed to try and get people to spot differences, like to like, oh, that's interesting. So here we have verb first, and then common noun, and we've broken the nouns down to common, like proper, like to kind of give more like details, and you can kind of see here. We just tell you what a common noun is and stuff. This can be quite useful for language learning, even beyond Irish. But also like just if you're studying grammar and the grammar says the rule of lenition applies to a common noun in this that is of this gender in this situation, you're like, what the fuck is that? Like, so learning what the different words are helps with the grammar and building up that knowledge. And this is something that I've been doing a lot this summer. See, masculine use on, feminine use on too. But yeah, see, I mean, this could be clearer, I guess. A little question mark up here, maybe. So, verb comes first. Hopefully, people start spotting that the verb comes first. In English, that would be is brother uh, one at me, right? Whereas it's ta.
Tá.
I think that takes like the prepositions. I think are like the hardest thing to pick up when you first start learning because it's a completely different paradigm to think. It's like uh, what Jahar? What am I spelling wrong? I have a brother. I could
Droid.
never spell that word. It used to give me sweats in school in the exam. I had to say brother or sister. Jahar, Jahor. And in that life, me spell them. I need to use the app more. Yeah, so you say, oh, like verb, and then brother, and then one of them,
A one.
and then a gum.
Am. Tá dreathach amháin am.
So if you try to translate it word from word in English, it's like, okay, how do I say have? There's no have to have verb in Irish. And then the whole word structure is differently. But if you keep doing this, like this becomes second nature, like a gum, lum, autumn, agat, ort, like these prepositions. I think if you get them down, I think the language becomes much, much more approachable and understandable. Like even saying something like ta isagum, like I had the knowledge at me. Um, like getting your head around that, not saying I know, saying I have the knowledge at me. And getting your head around those patterns and changing your worldview to kind of view the world in that way, to say like, I have the knowledge of that at me, or I have this at me now currently, and then for tá and then for the cupola, it's Sionnach May. I am Irish. It's a permanent kind of state, and I'm picking this up, or like he is friends with me, like Cara Lum, like he is with me a friend, like rather than saying he is my friend, I own his friendship. Um, I you can go a bit deep if you want, but I'm saying it just even in English, seeing the world that way can help you with the Irish, right? Um, the prepositions and stuff, and then after a while, it becomes second nature. Um, yeah, I think learning the prepositions is what took me the longest, and once I got it, gave me the most progress. I think because people always talk about tá versus the cupola, tá versus is. Um, But I think the prepositions are really the the difficult ones. I think coming into it, like with this sentence, the verb comes first, and the structure, knowing what a preposition is, and then ta versus is, I guess. So yeah, I guess I don't think Irish is particularly difficult for an English speaker. I think it's difficult because the complexity is front loaded. Like in the introduction course, it's Misha Sean right in the very first sentence. Verb comes first. It's the cupola. You have to pick that up. And Misha is a preposition, I think. So it's like you're right in the very first sentence. You're like, there's all the complexity to deal with. Whereas in other languages, you can get by with basic stuff, like in Spanish and stuff. The complexity comes later on when you have a bit of confidence. So I think maybe that's one of the reasons it's like so difficult to pick up. Because in school you come across this. This is your homework. Do this sentence in Irish, and you come across and you pick up the dictionary, and you're like, okay, what's the Irish for I? And you're like, okay, is it Misha? Like what is I? Okay, and you're like, okay, what is the verb for have? And you're like, what the fuck is have in the dictionary? So you're like, this language is impossible. Um, yeah, that's that. Um, so you're coming through. So then with the new data structure, the way we have set it up, we have sentence pairs, and we have English, Irish sentence, and then we have done by human, by me, um, the unmutated Irish sentence. So that is, I just write the sentence again and I remove any uh, like mutated H's or prefix letters. I could do more. I could probably like put in the like base form of a word or even break up prepositions and stuff. Maybe I might do that in the future, but basically the difference between the unmutated and the Irish thing will show up here in green, so you can kind of spot the mutation going on. Um, yeah, I think if I put in like the prepositions and all the other mutations, it would just be all green. Like there'd be so much coming up. But the reason I put in the prefix, the oru, the softening, the lenition and stuff is so hopefully people can start picking up the patterns and stuff. And then this one here, which I showed you, and then this one has gotten me the most trouble. The people saying, look, you can't use like English phonetics. That doesn't make any sense for Irish. You can't do this and the other. And I'm like, you really need to see the point of what's going on here. I'm trying to onboard Irish people, English speaking people to the Irish language. What other phonetics am I going to use? Like, what other phonetics do they have? This is the whole point of this view. And yeah, it does lose a lot of nuance and difference and stuff. Um, and for that sake, it's not going to be perfect. This is never going to be uh, accurate. And even if it is, to what dialect is it accurate? But it definitely helps, I think. And it just helps rather than trying to guess the spelling. Like if you think of how many videos are posted online about how to pronounce Saoirse or Siobhan or any of these words, the average English speaker needs to start somewhere. And yeah, it doesn't have the blah, the taste of the language and this, that, and the other. But this is for learners to get them along the path. And the audio is provided so they can hear. And you might say, well, look, get rid of the pronunciation stuff. And like this took a long time to do. I had to listen to all of the audio and type out how I heard it. Um, because this isn't IPA or any standard. This is just Shane's spelling. It's funny. This is how I used to spell in school because I have really bad dyslexia until I learned like common patterns and stuff. But and the other side to this too is what about people who have difficulty hearing? They can't listen to the language, so I need to give them something. Um, so yeah, I mean, like, maybe I'll just have it as a feature that's enabled or something, but it's gotten me in a lot of trouble by the guardians of the language, I suppose, the Irish Language High Council sitting in Dublin. So that's it, like, but yeah, I think I would die in that hill. I think I would fight that battle. So If anybody wants to argue me on the point, please do let me know. But I think this provides more value than damage, and it's much easier to correct the minor nuances and stuff if you can speak and have a conversation. And surely by like building up your ear and your ability to compose, to create, to write, to read, to speak, if you start engaging with the language with TG Carter and the content, surely then you should be able to correct yourself slowly. And we literally provide a speaking one where you can listen to your own pronunciation versus the pronunciation of the audio. So yeah, I don't know. We're really receptive to feedback, uh, which is really good for the app. But for personally, uh, mental health and all that stuff, it can be a double-edged sword. Like especially Reddit. Reddit can be very hurtful sometimes. So that's it. Anyway, look. So then the idea too is, look, look how long I've been speaking. How am I supposed to put this into a tutorial or text or something? I'll figure it out somehow. Um, and two, another thing here is if there's bugs in the data, if there's an entry for a word that doesn't exist, it shows up the wrong pronunciation. So this is actually how I try to debug if it's actually correctly done. Let's see.
On. Will.
Oh, I should have done this. I should have showed you. See the mutation. This is pronounced will, right? So the B, if you come across this in school, you're like, what are the BH doing here? It doesn't sound like anything.
An bhfuil ana ad manan.
So you're like,
Will. Will.
will,
Will.
where's the W?
Will.
You know,
Will.
what is it? And then I put in the will. Am I wrong? Does that not sound like will to you? And I'm, I'm thinking too, I use the Connacht dialect, so I probably pissed off a lot of people in Munster and Ulster, especially Ulster, using this.
Will.
Um,
Will.
I guess we could have like this, but I mean, I told you I literally had to go through each one myself, type it out. So I mean, I'd be here to Christmas doing each dialect. Um, and in saying that, I would love to. If I could spend Monday to Friday on this and I have no other gig going on, I'd be all over that. You know, become a language expert. It's just not really a possibility. Um, yeah. So mutation here. This word always shows up as mutated in its mutated form, to the point that you might not realize it's mutated. Unwill, because it's always unwill. Um, and it's interesting because in the verb ta, to be, sorry, um, the questions on rev, on will stuff. It's so irregular, the verb. You're like, where does that come from? And I saw a theory. I don't know if it's a theory. I saw it written, and I need to go fact check because if it's true, it's really interesting. If it's false, I look like a complete tool. But it was saying that this came from older forms of Irish, and these are actually from other verbs on will, on rev, or like from like to get basically. Um, I haven't had a chance to go back and check that. I think, well, me anyway, and most people, when you learn the verb to be, you just learn off the patterns, right? Because you just learn the questions and stuff. But if there is a logic to it, that's really fucking interesting, I think. And I put a little lesson in for it. So yeah, that's all of this, and then we get down to the bottom, and this is designed to try and give you the framework behind it. And these, I don't think native speakers care have ever used. And you might debate like, why would a learner want it then? But I think there's a lot of value in like the structure and understanding, and a bit of structure seems to go a long way. So like for me, knowing the why makes it much easier to figure out the how. So here, every sentence we can just tag it real quickly with a lesson. So if anything's present, oh, so that's an Oru, not a lenition. That's interesting. So let's do this one here. There's an Oru present somewhere here. I mean, we can probably tell it's this Oru is the prefix. So this is an Oru. and I really hope that it actually is an aura, because if it was mistakenly tagged and it is beta, we are working on it with a complete tool. But I think it is, right. Let's figure it out. You can come in here, and if you want a quick little test to see if you're on the right track, our examples you can see here, um, the G before it, arigata, malia a clea. I've actually seen this spelled differently in some other dialects. I'm digging to, just to remind yourself. If you're not quite sure, you can give yourself a little quiz. I've been criticized too for this, because I think I've put in some stuff that I thought were mistakes, and I've been told that actually that's how they say it in the Ulster dialect. Um, it's spotting a pattern now. I'm getting grilled. Um, but the point of the app isn't for me to teach the language. The point of the app is for me to build a tool to teach the language, to put in stuff now to show how it works, and then create the tools for other people to create the content to teach the language. Somebody who is world class in the Irish language shouldn't need to learn how to build an app to teach people. Somebody who is building an app in the language, let's say he's pretty good at coding, and Kian more shouldn't have to be an expert in a language. I think getting those two things together, someone who can, like, probably exists, but doing both, even if you have both, it just takes a lot of time, right? So the idea of this isn't so much that I'm trying to say I'm listen to me, I'm really good at the language. It's that, like, look, the tools I'm building to learn the language, because I am also learning the language, and to build them out together, and then we'll create tools, or anybody can come along and submit changes and stuff. So as a community, it can keep growing and getting better and stuff. And we're kind of at the verge of that now. A few more changes and polishes and fixes, and then release a tool, and then already we have two people making course content. So, like, that could just keep growing, and we could just have, to your heart's content, all kinds of courses for all time that can constantly be updated, and that's really exciting. Um, Back to this, the preposition er on. I thought err on was this is wrong, right? Every time I open the app, I find bugs. Um, Preposition err on. Oh, I clicked on. Of course, it's not Nora. It's not a prefix letter. But I don't know if this err on is correct. Is it? I need to go check that. Um, let's go check the lesson. So then, all of these lessons are on a standardized format. That's because the app needs structure. Like, it cannot handle any like fuzziness at all. It can't handle anything that's not, like, structured. It will just freak out if it sees something that's not supposed to be there. A lot of these things are optional, so you don't have to fill them all in, but there is a standard kind of format that you can do, and within that you can write anything you want. Um, and I try to kind of capture, like, some format that people could get used to and start looking for stuff. So, like, you have at the top name, a description, you see that on the card, then a little bit of an insight. This is trying to give, like, the core of it, and to can be updated. And like I said, the tools that are on, people can come along and suggest edits and updates. Um, and then you can kind of read into it and all this kind of stuff. Um, let's try and see why or where it is in this sentence. Um, I don't think it's this one, and I don't think it's this one, and I don't think after the numbers, yeah, I don't think it's any of these. Um, so yeah, I think it could be this one or it could be this one, right? After the definite article, Eron, Egon, Taron, Eramord, Eramord, yeah. After questions like on, noch, well, I think it's this one, right? On digging too. So we get um, a question on, and then we have an Oru, and then we have an F, and then, yeah. So I think actually in this one, we should probably add the the lenitions, right? That for C to G, for B to M, for T to D, right? We should probably add that. Um, Making mental notes. And then up here we have the questions. You have to read through that and understand the why. And at the bottom we have like the multiple choice, so you can check. And then we have like examples, how it works. And then here we have trying to show like when you make mistakes, common mistakes. And I'm sure any Irish teachers probably seen this a lot because I know I did this a lot in school. Um, and then the multiple, and again, I've been grilled on this because I thought so, I showed it as being a bad example, and I've been told that actually in Ulster they use it. So, Sabron or okay, Shine, Lane Autumn. Is it Lane Autumn or Lane Ort? On me, right? Carry me. And then the prepositions, which shows up a lot. Oh, well, this is formatting that probably should be fixed. If anybody wants to come join me on, on this code, I would be much appreciated. That isn't too bad though, but yeah, I could probably do something with that. The problem is in Flutter it doesn't support Markdown easily, which is a really common standard for text and stuff, and it's what was used in the original JSON, the data and stuff. And with like a lot of the Python libraries we use, it generates the text into Markdown and stuff. So yeah, let's see a lot of it. I need to fix that somehow. And then you can go to your relate. Oh, okay. I didn't know that was a thing. And then I'm have to lives in progress probably. Really interesting. I need to write a script to go through all of those, make sure they all exist. I didn't know about that. Forming questions, lessons. Couplet definitely exists, and it brings you here, and you can kind of take a look. It's funny because it doesn't bring you to the exact entry, which is strange that the last one failed. Okay, a list of stuff, and you can kind of take a look to your heart's content. Keep reading through these. This to me is a bit like I remember reading for chess. Like chess is a sport that has the most books written about it. Of all the sports, the most books ever written are about chess. Um, and I remember reading before some grandmaster, he was saying like you should be playing chess 90% of the time and reading 10% of the time. And I think like that is a really good ratio for a lot of stuff. And here I think reading up in grammar and rules 10% of the time definitely seems to work, and try to speak and use it 90% of the time. Um, yeah, so you can kind of come down and dig into the sentence. And then anything that in grammar is in patterns, and this kind of gives us a bit of free reign. We can kind of just like put in like, yes, no answers, knowing people, like these kind of general patterns. You can see these are quite short because I think I was rushing through these at the end and it's just trying to get them out. Some of them are like well written out, and others are just like stuff. And again, when we build the tools where you can come in and click something and make suggestions for changes, these should grow. I'm actually getting motivated to do it this weekend because I want to see what it can become. Um, I'm really like it with Duolingo. I hated that it was so static. Whereas in the early days, there was forums and stuff, and it would update, and you could go into the forum and you could see all the conversation, and you could learn a lot that way. So yeah, and you can kind of like anything that's here it gets tagged, and then for people who are creating the courses, they create the English and then the Irish, and then they do the unmutated sentence, and then the Python script creates the rest of the stuff automatically. Um, if it exists, and then it tells you like, oh, like these words don't exist, go create entries. But it means that you can just quickly, rather than going in and doing a whole lesson on oral, you can just go and tag the oral lesson like one word, type it in. Um, so you need to manually tag it, Irish, English sentence, and unmutated stuff, and then the Python will do the rest. So and then the Python will tell you if something's missing. If it's missing, you need to go into like, yeah, there's like a grammar kind of folder, and it has all of the JSON, and you need to go to like wherever that one exists and then put in the entry yourself. And it's a standard template, so you can just copy and paste it in, change all the values like the stuff and type it out. I don't think anybody else is going to do that. That's from me. So to create the tools, I just need to build something that um, you can go to a website and from a user interface do this, right? Um, yeah, so take a bit of work, but it's not huge. And then the final one, which I've left till the end, we removed the I'm stuck button. And instead we've gone with this vocabulary, and I need to post about this because I don't think it's obvious at all. But this is supposed to be where you go if you're stuck, because all the words are put in here, and you can see them all, and they're put in a random order. Every time you open it, it should be random. Is it every single time? Yeah. See, if I keep opening this, it's going to be different every single time, right? Um, Random number generator, and you can have a listen.
On.
On.
An.
In the three different dialects we have, and you can go and take a look at the lesson. I'm always reluctant to show this because this by far is the most, what's the word, unstructured. Like it was added in as we went along, but it's like, especially the vocabulary, it kind of defied clean categorization. So there's some duplication, words show up different places, and like it's a bit fuzzy um, on the base, singular, plural, on, un. Mm, yeah, look, treat it all cases, plural, none. That's a bit confusing. That's why I'm reluctant to show it. The vocabulary is definitely the one that probably needs the most love. And then the bottom you have definition of the. So what we did here is one base word that has a description, and then we try to show every variation. So every mutation, every genitive case, every um way you can see this word shows up. And you can see what I mean. I said like just duplication and stuff. And that's allowed because it was too hard to do it otherwise. But we have to do this for every single word, right? So like doing this and typing it out, like it takes a long, even with these short entries, it just takes a little time. Later on, I think we can probably put in features where you can add more stuff. And these probably need to be moved around and recategorized, but I think it's pretty good. Like I think it's really good. And what's really cool about this one is, let's see what this one's like. Tam, it's in Tam. Oh yeah, this shouldn't be Tam. This should be B. Okay, let's fix that this weekend. There's a few. This thing is defined twice. Also, I think Tam is Munster dialect, right? Um, yeah. So yeah, just keep growing and grow the vocabulary and stuff. And what's really cool about this one needs the most love, but this one has the most potential because with this we can take this here, use it as a hint, and create a crossword puzzle. Or we could create like a Wordle or something like this using this information. And also, I've been working on this idea of making a like this Markov chain type of representation of all the sentences that you've done, and then going in there and like taking a word, like say you keep getting this wrong, or it probably wouldn't be a noun, it'd probably be like a word that's part of the grammar, like maybe like a preposition or something. You keep getting it wrong, and we could see that keep getting it wrong, uh, get this word wrong the most times. Throw it into this thing that we created, this graph of all of your sentences you've come across, or maybe all the sentences all together, and it can generate then sentences from this, which is really cool, like really really cool. Um, so yeah, so there's a lot of features that can come from this, but I do think it needs a bit of love. I'll get there. And the thing with this is it replaces the old I'm stuck, and I'm kind of going for the whole bag of words, like in like Duolingo and something. You like click the right words like this. This is kind of what this is supposed to be, and then you click this, complete the word, and it shows up here, and then you need to type it out.
Highness.
So you can always get yourself out of trouble. Sinead, so that's it. Like I've been chatting for a long time, and there's so much more I want to talk about. So much I want to do with the app actually. Um, so yeah, that's it. What else did I show real quick? you can also go in here and take a look this way if you want, and this way. Progress and stats. Progress and stats needs love too. I mean, I put in the XP because people, I think it helps. It makes it a bit easier, something to go for and goals and all that kind of stuff. But I don't even look at myself because, like, to me, the goal is to learn the language. I know it or I don't. But this can definitely have a lot of work put into it. Like, you see how much XP this is. This is just when you're creating an XP system. If you don't do it right, um, it just balloons and becomes like Zimbabwe dollar type of stuff. What's the Zimbabwe currency? This hyperinflation, right? So, um, more can be done here. I'm not sure how best to do it. I want to avoid spending XP to like get stuff. It kind of seems a bit weak. And it is kind of fun too at the same time. So I'm not sure what to do. I really don't like. I think maybe too like having time would be more interesting. You know, how much time have you spent doing this? I think most interesting would be actually showing a real representation of your understanding of the language. Like XP and time isn't as relevant as like how are you actually progressing with the language. And I need to come up with a kind of smart little algorithm that would maybe use something like your time on a lesson, how many mistakes you make and stuff to try and guess how well you're doing. I think the text, the sorry, words per minute can be quite good. Like on a keyboard, if you can touch type maybe 40 words per minute on something would show that, oh, you probably notice like straight away. But what we could probably do is put in the lessons I spoke about, giving you the answer, and you type it. We could probably use that as a baseline for for your like fluency. So if you know what to say and you type it out, that's how fast you go. So and if you're on a new sentence, and you takes you 10 times longer, then you're probably trying to figure it out. But if you come on and you type it out without being given the answer as fast, you probably know it, right? Um, so yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking for that. Like trying to get a proper way behind the scenes to like see how you're doing and then present you with lessons based around where you're struggling. But yeah, if anybody has ideas around the XP, I would love to hear them. I don't know, maybe a shop. What would the shop sell? Like hats or something? Where would the hats go? So I don't even know. And I want to avoid like the man hours we have for this is so limited. I want to focus them on features that teach the language and make it easier. Um, so get away from gimmicks and stuff. But at the same time, it done well, it could be quite fun, and it could make it a bit take away a bit of the challenge, and then it could also maybe be used to encourage people to learn it in a way that we think best teaches the language. It would be really nice if we could attach XP to actually knowing the language. I'm not sure how to do that. Um, yeah, and then so what else? What else is here? Updates news, supporters. Like really, really grateful for this. I'm going to break this up. At the moment, we have every supporter who ever supported us. I'm going to do past supporters and present supporters. Because I don't want to like if people stop for whatever reason, I don't want to like just get rid of them. That's not fair. They still contributed. They still did stuff. I want to keep showing that people have been doing it. The app is 6 months old, so it's quite young. And that's from like Hello World to here, from Flutter Create to here. And in that time, we have done these updates. Like you can see, when the time comes to create these updates, like I've probably spent days and weeks building something, and I get there and I'm just like, what was it again? So they're not the most accurate, but they kind of catch the essence of what was going on. What this was, the first time myself and Michael did when we built the updates feature in late June, and then we've gone through here and like I want to put the dates into all of these, and we've gone through and done a lot. And I think the biggest one was this one, and it has like the shortest amount of entries because it was just so difficult to type everything up. Um, yeah, and then up to the top, all the bug fixes, and there'll be another one this weekend, I think. Each weekend it's like the stuff I want to do and the stuff I have to do. So I'll do the stuff I have to do this weekend, and if I have time, I'll do the other stuff. You can read about us here in the team, um, the new team members, and what else? Um, the app pros on the. So far into the video, I'm going to reset it, and I'll just quickly go over it again. Um, because I want to get stuck into coding, and I don't want to kind of go and have to edit the video because it's not my skill set, so it takes ages. So yeah, this is the history. Like I can show you like how many updates we've done. Um, and then here is the supporters. Like I said, I'm gonna break it up. Really grateful for all the support. Um, the conversion rate for people using the app to donating money is 1%, and that's people who like actually go on and like start using the app and stuff. Which is actually pretty high for a donation model. Um, that's gone from 1% to 1.4% increase. So I'm guessing people are a bit happier with the work done. Um, if we like we're doing a subscription model like Duolingo and stuff, I think they get like 10% for like paid. So you get like features with that. I mean, we're putting so much work into getting the app free and working for everybody. We want people to learn the language. We want to get out of beta, all this kind of stuff. The idea of like trying to do a subscription is just not even possible. Like we just don't have the time. Um, and then it's like, what features go into that? You can't really paywall the language. That's just, uh, it's just not good. Like so, I don't know. I think like the 1% means that people who donate are like saints. Thank you so much. Um, and I think then the other like difference between a subscription would be like that the extra 9%, which would be genuinely significant. I think like that would mean one of us could go full time, which would have a dramatic impact. So that's what we're talking about. Um, but like I don't know how to get there because we need to come up with something that wouldn't take away from the other features, and then we need to put the time into it, and then the app would need to be like out of beta on the store, really clean, working professionally, tested and stuff. Um, I have had experience managing a product that had this feature, like this platform for esports. I had few thousand users and stuff. And the idea was that the paid memberships, which had a few extra features, funded the free stuff. So every release we'd have free stuff and paid stuff. Um, and that model is kind of cool because if I could go full time on this, and like what you're talking about, 5 6 times as much work done a week. And then maybe even if I didn't do that, maybe it would just be kind of like the money to pay for professional voice actors for the audio. Maybe we could hire like you know Irish language services to kind of proofread and do the stuff. Um, so I don't know. It's a tough one. Like I don't think we're in a position to do it now because, like I said, we need to kind of fulfill our promise and get out of beta, have everything polished, have everything done. And I think the next stage is to kind of like is to try and go and build out the app and get people in contributing and get loads of content. And this is what I want because I want to come out of the app and see loads of courses by everybody and pristine Irish and stuff, so I can push my language forward and adopt it as my main language for thinking and doing everything. And I'd love to kind of get to a stage where I'm like trying to use it for coding, and that could be fun creating words for stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Please do contribute. It really does make a huge difference. The server costs have been going up, um, and yeah, that's because the numbers keep going up. People keep using it. So, um, oh, what am I not clicking on? Support Sionnach, yeah. The numbers keep going up, and um, server costs keep going up, and it genuinely is like throughout the day. If I open my app, I get the notification that someone's contributing. It just you would not believe the dopamine. It really just keeps us going. So thanks, Mila Bukas, to everybody who has been donating, and yeah, the app's in really good shape, and I'm really excited to get it polished and let the features out and kind of keep going with the vision and stuff. So, um, Sinead, yeah, that's it. So I'm gonna stop now. So the app, the progress so far is, I don't know if I said at the start of the video or it's the video that I didn't post. Yesterday we had 600 people on it. Last week I think it's 70 new users a day. Still a lot of users will come on and bounce off. I think like they get confused, it's not what they want. I saw someone on Reddit call it rubbish. Fortunately, he didn't elaborate, which is unfortunate. um, I think the biggest issues, and people please correct me if I'm wrong, the confusion. I think getting people and putting in training stuff and like help and all that kind of stuff so you can figure it out is the biggest one. And I was using an app this week for coding, and I had a similar experience, and it kind of made me think about it. It's a difficult thing to solve, but I think it's something that needs to be focused on. And I think the second biggest one is polish, getting everything working really well and polish and all the content really good and stuff. I think the third one is the content. We need more content, and that these two, the polish and the content, are related to opening it out to people to create and update content. And then I think the fourth one is the audio. I would really like to have like more audio. I would love it if in this one, in like in the conversations, if we had like actually had a woman's voice for Scotia and a man's voice for Lou. Um, that would be really cool. And then I think maybe the fifth one then is like trying to put in full support for all dialects and all for text and everything else. I think two, three, and five are the feature I talked about, like opening it so people can come and contribute and stuff. Um, and I think all of it with time will come. So that's it. I'm gonna stop this video now. I think it's probably hour 20. So and then I'm going to go and start working. So hopefully by the time you see this, there's a new update.